Hello everybody, I decided to do a video on Leftow's dilemma. This I don't think is being really brought up. I haven't seen it anyway, I haven't really run into it on YouTube, so I'm kind of bringing it out, and I'm going to go through it. If you go to Google Images and you type in Leftow's dilemma, you hit enter. If you misspelled it, it'll give you the correct spelling, otherwise it'll pop up anyway. A picture will pop up for you, and that picture I'm about to show you in this video. And Brian Leftow, he is a Trinitarian, however he supports Latin Trinitarianism, and actually if you were to follow through what he says with it, he's actually more of a oneness person or a modalist than he is a Trinitarian. And he seems to think that there is a problem with monotheistic Trinitarianism, or I guess what he might call Trinity monotheism. And so I'm going to show you what he thinks the problem is. It's right there in the picture if you just follow all the arrows. I'm going to pop it up right now, and it'll be there for a couple seconds, and then I'm going to go through it, and that'll be that. So here you go, here it is. Wait a minute, before I actually show you the picture, I should kind of set it up a little bit. The whole idea here is that the Trinity is divine and the three persons are supposed to be divine. That's four divine things. Are we to think that there's four gods? How are we to understand the Trinity being divine and the persons being divine? Or is it possible that we are to understand that one of the group is not divine, perhaps the Trinity isn't divine, or the persons are not divine? And the picture that I'm about to show you kind of goes through all that. So here you have it, Leftow's dilemma, Trinity monotheism. The Trinity is a fourth instance of the divine nature, and the Trinity is not a fourth instance of the divine nature, or our first two options. Now, this one leads to there being four gods. Now, of course, the Trinity doesn't want to say that, so we have no choice but to X that part out and go the other route. So, the Trinity is not a fourth instance of the divine nature. So this leaves us with two options. The Trinity is divine, or the Trinity is not divine. I certainly wouldn't want to say that the Trinity is not divine, especially since Leftow would be correct. That would abandon Trinity monotheism, which is what I support. So let's cross that out. So now we have this. So now we're left with the Trinity is divine, and that gives us two options again. There's one way to be divine, or there are two ways to be divine. This route leads to a form of Arianism, according to Leftow. I'm going to leave that alone for a little bit and look over here, because this leads to two options. There is one way to be divine, would mean that only the Trinity is God, and the persons are not divine. Well, I wouldn't want to say that. I believe that Jesus is divine, the Father is divine, and the Holy Spirit is divine. So we're left with this over here. Only the persons are divine. Well, I've already said the Trinity is divine, so I can't go with that route. So that crosses that out, and that crosses that out. So now we're left with, again, there are two ways to be divine and Arianism. So now, all of a sudden, I'm labeled an Arian. Now, this is very interesting because of what he means by this. Well, the first thing I want to say is that to say that there are two ways to be divine, I think is an incorrect way of wording it. A better way to word it is that there's more than one way to be divine. And I would have to ask, why would that be a problem? What he means there by that Arianism, was that Platonician Arianism? What he means there, in his own words, is the positing of more than one way to be divine. So saying that there could be more than one way to be divine leads to this form of Arianism, and he somehow thinks that that's bad. And why does he think that's bad? Well, he says, if we take the Trinity's claim to be God seriously, we wind up downgrading the person's deity and or being unorthodox. And I would have to say that that's incorrect. You're not removing anybody's deity or fullness in terms of being God, and I'll explain that right now. So how can we understand that there's more than one way to be divine? I'm going to use an example that William Lane Craig gives. It's a very good example. I could switch it up and use a different creature. I'm going to use the same one, and that would be a cat. If you think of a cat is a feline creature. That it's its nature to be feline. Its eyes are feline, its bones are feline, its DNA is feline. I think you can even say its hair is feline. However, the cat's bones are not the cat. The cat's eyes are not the cat. Its DNA is not the cat, and its hair is not the cat. So clearly, there's more than one way to be feline. So if you jump back to the Leftow's dilemma, one of our first options was the Trinity is a fourth instance of the divine nature, and therefore there are four gods. Well, in the case of the cat, there's only one instance of finality. However, its eyes are fully feline, its bones are fully feline, and its DNA are fully feline. So there's more than one way to be fully feline without being multiple instances of finality. So in the case of the Trinity as a whole is a single instance of the divine nature. To be an instance of the divine nature is to be triune or tripersonal. God doesn't just happen to be tripersonal. In order to be God in an instance of divinity, you must be tripersonal. However, that does not take away at all from the persons in their divine nature. Now, just to clarify here, I do not think that the Son is the eyeball of God, or the Father is the DNA of God, or the Holy Spirit is the hair of God. That's just a physical example to help clarify in your head how it could be that something could have, that there's different ways that a nature can be without being instances of that nature. So the big question is, if the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are not instances of the divine nature, does that mean that their nature is diminished? The answer is no, because we are talking about a whole to parts system. You know, the parts could have certain properties because of the whole, and the whole could have properties because of the parts. So quite the opposite, it's not diminishing at all. So for example, the three persons could be eternal because the whole is eternal, or the whole could be morally good because the persons are morally good, and so on and so forth. Of course, we have no way of knowing exactly how the properties interrelate within the Godhead, but in no way should we think that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are diminished in their divine nature because they are not an instance of the divine nature. I want to end this video by clarifying something. I've done it before, I'm going to do it again. When we say that the Father is God, Jesus is God, and Holy Spirit is God, those are not identity statements. Those are title statements. It's the same as saying David is king or Esther is queen. Because the three persons are part of the whole, they hold the position to be able to hold the title of God. However, they cannot hold the identity of God, because to be God is to be tripersonal. And obviously, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are not tripersonal. They are each a person of the tripersonal being, that which is God. Properly understood, God is a single being with three centers of consciousness, each sufficient enough for personhood.